And I was really not happy with where I am with my corporate life. Why can't I have that trigger in my life every day? That's the question. I asked this question to myself. And why can't other people have that every day with me? That was the second question. These questions led me to a point that I knew what I want to do in general, which was using alcohol as a trigger point and art as a sole element of transferring an experience. I was making over $100,000 salary, right?
Right.
I would drive from work. I would go, clean the floor with 18-year-old kids.
To make this like a heavy infomercial, but I do want to talk about your product because
Absolutely.
I can tell you kind of what your product made me feel, and then I think I've already kind of messaged you about this because when I saw your drink for the first time, I connected it to like an energy drink, like a Monster, Red Bull, kind of along that line, and I was like, you should take the alcohol and make it an energy drink for sports or athletes. That's my
that doesn't
perception.
mean we're not going to do that in the future. But
and I think like, there's no shortage of passion with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're obviously really passionate about your work, your business. Tell me about Bootleggers. Tell me about where the name came from, where the idea came from, your partners. Talk about your company a little bit.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to do, because Bootleggers is not me only, is obviously a group effort and team effort. My partners are the most amazing entrepreneurs and, souls ever as well. Our path clicked and connected along the way, and Bootleggers was born out of that original kind of journey with these additional fabulous other visions to it, right? So when I started my journey, it was 5 years ago. In my birthday, my 32nd birthday, I always had at a time, had one night in my birthday, and I'm a Virgo in September, I celebrated elaborately for a month with no shame, right? I love the party and the attention, but always one night around that weekend, I sit on my own, I have a solo experience, and I love my solo time, right? And, I really think about where I am in life, where I want to be. Am I happy? It was a little pulse check for your life, right? In every aspect. And that year, and leading to that year, I was already making decisions, and I would see the changes that, call it the 30 crisis or whatever, right? Or self-awakening, all of that together, I would say. And I was really not happy with where I am with my corporate life. And I've been struggling for a couple of years. The reason I changed my first job to a second one, which was in insurance industry, was that because I felt more freedom, more social life. And it did. Like insurance industry, if anybody works in it, is all, like golfing and drinking and this and this and this. Yeah, but it can take you so long, right?
Right.
Because it was not just about that for me. It was about every day, not just one day with a client going somewhere. I wanted a life that every day is as triggered as that goosebump feeling that I get in Mykonos by the beach at 4 a.m. when the sun is rising and there is music in the vibe and there is the wind blowing, right? Why can't I have that trigger in my life every day? That's the question. I asked this question to myself. And why can't other people have that every day with me? That was the second question, right? And these questions led me to a point that I knew what I want to do in general, which was using alcohol as a trigger point and art as a sole element of transferring an experience to create an experience for people, whether it's in person or digital or product or whatever. At a time, pre-pandemic, it was more for me a hospitality form to it.
Right.
And I started the journey. I decided that the day after, I'm going to write a resume, start fully merging into a bartending scene, because I need to be in the industry to build something in the industry. And I'm going to start my business plan, and I'm going to start quitting my job within a year from that point, which I did exactly. So I started going part-time. I was bartending from the absolute base bottom of the shittiest pub in Richmond, and I was making over $100,000 salary, right? I would drive from work. I would go, clean the floor with 18-year-old kids. No problem. No ego. Absolutely. I loved it. With absolute pleasure. And I made it up in the bartending. My business proposal was getting better. I was learning about everything, what I was trying to do. I registered my business in April. I had already switched my bartending job to a, fine dining restaurant. And I was reducing my hours in my work. And I was teaching bartending in a bartending school that back in time I was trained myself in. And, I was not sleeping much, but I loved it. Like, it was not intentional. I couldn't sleep at nights. I had to be on the computer trying to build this plan. it was my passion. It's what I wanted to do every moment of my life.
Yeah. Most entrepreneurs have that, by the way. It's the playing in the sandbox.
It is, if you want to call it. It's so much fun. It's the funnest part of this whole reggae journey to this day, honestly. Yeah. It's so good.
I wanna just because you move really quickly, but you said something that was really powerful. And I think a lot of 9-to-5ers that watch this or are watching this, no hate, but you're gonna roll over. You said something about why can't I have this experience every single day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that hit me because it's so true. And I think so many people need to ask that question. What's the thing that
you
makes you feel alive?
Makes you feel alive.
So you're not sleeping awake.
Yeah.
And then why can't you have that every day?
Because that's a starting point to understanding what is it that fulfills you, what is it that you need to go after. You remember we were talking about they haven't found what they want to do. That's why they don't quit.
Exactly.
But that's the thing. You got to start asking that question.
Yeah. I just wanted to hammer on that because I kind of like you, I feel a need to share this with people because and this is
and we talked podcast.
Yeah, so the name of the podcast is called Unconventional, and one of the questions I don't think I answered it at the beginning, but you asked me when we weren't recording.
Well, we should start.
And the idea for Unconventional came from this place of like, I don't want to just do what everyone else is doing. And I need a platform to give myself that freedom, but also give other people the freedom, especially in South Asian culture where you're always going down a predefined pathway. Doctor, lawyer, engineer, same pathway, every single person.
Yeah, it's so strong. Even my parents didn't force me, but it's so strong.
We know it's there.
It's so strong that it's your own head when you grow up, right?
Bred into you. So again, just because I took the leap and left that path and went into entrepreneurship, I feel the need to encourage other people to do the same. Unconventional, we came together, we talked about it. What does it mean to be unconventional? It's like walking your own path.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast with a friend of mine, Austin, and we talked about like giving advice. And I'm like, I don't really want to give advice as much as I enjoy it. I don't want to because I want people to embark on their own journey. And that's how the podcast was born.
No, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I love it. I love, again, beside these bootleggers and how it's going and ending, again, as I said, the intention behind everything is really to contribute something for a little bit of a better life for everybody. Because I do believe that if people feel better, if they're more content, if they're happy, if they're fulfilled, they're not going to go out and kill each other.
Right.
This is the basics of human. It's not rocket science. We're all human. We know how this works.
For sure.
When you're unhappy, you seek something else. When you're not triggered, when you're not fulfilled, you go crazy and you go mentally ill and you start doing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's why people kill each other. That's why it's war. That's why everybody's unhappy. That's why everybody's screaming. That's why all of that exists. Right?
Yeah, and even down to like just the micro level, like personal relationships suffer because you're unhappy. Yeah. If you're unhappy at work, you're going to cause problems in your relationship.
100%.
So it's all connected.
You're never going to have a good life.
Yeah, so dude, like I said, I love your passion. I love the ethics that you have behind Bootlegger, the product. The art's like one thing that always comes to mind.
So let me get you to it because that's my partner. So I was getting to the partner. I'm going to make it quick. So it's the second bartending job, and when I registered my business, and basically I was out of engineering, I was working at this fine dining restaurant, and it was just open, and the assistant general manager was this French guy that was just from Japan. Actually, was in Japan, and before Australia, he was opening these hospitality projects. And in my head, and he's that Michelin star background, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to open this technical hospitality project at the front end, is art gallery and a place of thinking and experience, and back end and the music and all that. But, at the end of the day, it's run from the financial perspective as a hospitality project. So I'm looking for the right people, right? And one day, and I would pay attention to him, right? I mean, Michelin star right away triggered me. And then one day I'm leaning over the bar, talking to a customer. He comes behind me after it's done and says, look, hey, Mr. Kam, how would you feel if you were sitting at the bar and the bartender was leaning to you like this in a fine dining restaurant? And I'm like, not very good. Yeah, so don't do it again. I'm like, what do you do with arms? Here, back, you can talk, you can see your face. And I was just like, man, I need this place in my business and in my life. This is this guy knows, right? He gets it. Jean Levin, that's my first business partner. So, and he's very big in the operations, pay attention to details, and been there, done that, right? So one day after work, we're drinking, and I'm like, look, I'm actually doing this, right? He's like, I'm in. Great. That's how he started with him, right? And he's the COO. He writes the operations from everything. He's also a flavor master. I mean, I have a mixology background too, but he's more on the flavor side and chooses, like we go over recipes together because he's a chef also, right, by background. So you got all of that. Then we come to the art. And Jean and I, after pandemic, I had to leave that whole hospitality project away. Everything was ready for that project. Jean was on board, artists were on board, everything was on board, funding, everything. I had a real estate. I placed an offer for the lease. When the lease was accepted, it was March 10 or something of 2021.
Right.
Or 2020. 2020, that's when the pandemic happened?
Yeah, 2020.
20. And I'm like, ooh, and the whole world is like cascading effect shutting down, right? And it got accepted it, and I'm like, let's wait before signing it. Let me be Canada's next, right? And Canada was next, so I never signed it. That whole project after 2 years, boom, gone, right? What a time. And then, you know, Jean and I officially started, like he joined me as a partner in the business officially after a few months, and we were brainstorming what to do. I did this underground thing in that period, the first period of pandemic that because I was off the job of bartending too, right? I'm like, I want to replicate the meal prep model of food, you know, the Hello Fresh, good food, that kind of stuff. They, you know, they have the thing, they send it to you with cocktails. So you have my menu every week changes, then you get single serving, maybe 3 or 4 single serving cocktails with ingredients all separated, marked with a video for thing. You just put it together. You don't have to go shopping, and you have a craft cocktail at home.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds like it was fun, you know.
The operations.
Operations. I had no license, no nothing. I just like underground the pandemic. I did it for a bit.
But you're also changing the drink every so often.
Every week. That's people loved it. You know, a lot of friends through social media and stuff. But obviously, I'm like, I can't do this illegally. But then that became the source of bootleggers later on, because then the first thing that Jean and I decided to do when we realized pandemic is not ending was to make a kind of a cocktail kit model to replicate that model legally by delivering through restaurants that have a license. And then that shifted into an Uber Eats model for cocktails, but not to be the Uber Eats, use Uber Eats. So restaurants have a license. They can now, after pandemic, deliver mixed drinks online, right? Sell it online. So we would be the recipe, we would be the mix. Then I met my food scientist along the way. We developed a trade secret that allows us to make this tasty, real drink, but shelf stable, right? It's not fake, it's real.
Right.
And that whole thing was going along. We're still figuring out. Now we're entrepreneurs, you know, we're doing all these models, you know, some sales, some marketing, still not quite there, right?
Figure it out, yeah.
Then I was introduced after we had Zoom parties. We were doing Zoom parties for people with our mixes, our cocktails. We were selling the boxes. They would receive it. They open it. We would do from a studio, the whole thing. And it was fun. I had DJs in the studio. We made a full-on experience out of it.
You say Zoom party like online?
Yeah, you remember Zoom parties, corporate Zoom parties and stuff? Yeah. We would be hosting those parties with our cocktails and music, the whole thing.
All your guests have drinks at their house.
Yeah. They were corporate, right? For example, Google for their staff, right? 100 people. We would hand deliver the boxes to them.
That's awesome.
It was so much fun. The hustle was great. And then after one of those events, we went to a summer of 2021 or 2, I don't know. And we went to Stanley Park, somewhere in Stanley Park, when there's a viewpoint. One of my friends had a DJ set, starting to play, sunset, beautiful. And I took all my team with me from the Zoom thing. And over there, one of my team members introduced me to her friend, this guy who's the artist, Kirash, and my third partner. And he's a fashion designer and a graffiti artist by background. He's like fantastic creative. And he was about to launch his streetwear at a time. He had the couture collection. He was in London Fashion Week, like big guy in 6, 7, right?
Right.
And pandemic happened, completely ruined him also, because he was trying to take his company public. It ruined him. Right now he's back grinding again. You know, I do a street because he wants to go back to his roots. You know, he's using his own graffiti as the print on the style of the fashion, and he designs the outwear as well. And he was launching that, and we started talking after 5 minutes, like we clicked, like it's like immediately, like same with Jean, like immediately. And I'm like, cool, man, we should do stuff together. He's like, yeah, absolutely. So 2 weeks later, I called him. I was like, I want to do a pop-up to launch our first edition of Uber Eats cocktails. You're trying to launch that too. Let's do a pop-up together. Absolutely. We took over a store in Gastown, like a storefront. It was empty.
Really?
We did a pop-up. a first edition of our Bootleggers Gala experiences. We had a whole vitrine of our cocktails. We were doing sampling. We had DJ playing for 2 days in a row. People were walking in. He had his art. He had his whole clothing line. It was a full-on immersive. People were coming in, hanging out, drinking, partying, buying, seeing, talking. It was insane. On a storefront in Gastown, right?
That's awesome.
Somebody was actually doing a live painting in the behind the window inside, like, you know, in like a vitrine of the. It was insane. That was the whole start of a creative collaboration, right? Then after that, for 2 years, we did a lot of parties and events, and cocktail was part of it. Art was part of it, trying to create this whole cycle from bougie seated experiences to full-on rave.
Right.
And anything in between, right? With use of technology, projections, anything you can possibly imagine. Lost so much money along the way, right? But we built the audience, we built the trust, we built the brand. And finally, when Bootleggers were born, which is just January of this year, basically, right? Not that long ago, we put all of that together. We figured that the Uber Eats has a lot of steps. We have the mix, we have the trade secret, it's tested, people love the drinks.
Right.
We have the art, we have the artists, we have the partnership, we joined officially together, the three of us. Bootleggers were born, the first cocktail came out, and all of our events were directed to be a Bootleggers experience, which would be a marketing and sales channel for our product that nobody else can claim that I actually market my product and make money.
Yeah.
How can you do that, right? Like the drone show, right? Think about it. If I was going to be a sponsor to that event and give my product there and say, hey, put my logo in the sky, that's easily like a $20,000 expense, right?
At least, yeah.
I did the whole thing. Well, we pretty much broke even in that event because city costs a lot of money to get permits from. But, you know, but that's a channel. We have our, you know, it's our event and it's a different thing when it's our event. And technically it's free marketing. Let's put it that way. It's the most brilliant thing we've ever done. It took 3 years of hard work and losing money and this. But now we're at a point that we have this at our disposal, not in every market, but at least in our home-based market, we can market our own product and for free at the highest marketing level possible, right?
Right.
That's how it was born. That's how the collaboration started and became partnership. And Kiarash is a fantastic creator. Jean is a fantastic operator. We have these like complementary skill sets.
For sure.
And I'm a great vision. I'm the vision. He's the art and the, you know, brand. And relationships on the social side. He's the operation, the people, the flavor, the staff, you know, the accuracy, sales even. And I'm the vision, the business behind it, you know, fundraising, this, seeds, you know, like investors, that's all the relationships on the business end. And we work really well together. It's been almost now 2.5, 3 years that three of us have been working together. And it's hard to find people with their partners in entrepreneurial world that can seamlessly work together with them without that much trouble.
For sure.
It's very unique. We appreciate it. We love it. And, you know.
Yeah. And when you get them, you got to hold on to them.
You got to hold on to them.
And build with them long term.
Yeah, look, every partnership, you all have your, you know, sometimes differences. Of course, that's a point of growth. Otherwise, you can't grow, right?
For sure.
But we really get it. You know, it's hard to find people who get it.
In fact, I would say like the disagreements are actually important because they feel comfortable enough to challenge your thoughts or ideologies. And that I think that needs to happen for a business to grow, right? At every stage of the business.
100%. We make all decisions together, like, you know, very open communication, very great, right?
Yeah.
And I always say, I had the journey, but now we have a journey because that's how it is, right? And his journey is now bigger and better than me, you, all of us. It's amazing. And I'm blessed that I could channel that and bring it in. And now we're all in this together.